In St. Peter's now, 77 in Florissant, and downtown at the Arch at 77 degrees. I'm Maria Kina, KMOX News.
From KMOX Sports.
Okay, boys, here we go.
Welcome to the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings, and he hits a drive. He hits a slammer.
Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs.
Here we go.
Now, Matt Pauley on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
All right, man, let's get going here.
Here we go. Let's go.
We do welcome you into another edition of a Graybar Sports Open Line here on a Wednesday night on KMOX. We have a full 2 hours with you tonight. That's because the Cardinals played day baseball today. Not only did they play day baseball, they won day baseball today, knocking off Cincinnati by a 5-3 score. And with that, they take 2 of 3 in the series. Another series victory for the Cardinals. They are coming very quickly right now, and they've gone all the way back to 500, which is something a little bit more than 2 weeks ago. This was a team that was 9 games under 500, and they've been able to fight their way all the way back to 500. And clearly being a 500 club is not what you're going for, but we always, one of the things we always say when we're talking about a team climbing up the division or a team trying to get into playoff position or things like that, it's almost cliche, we say it so often. Well, get back to 500 and then we'll go from there. Well, they got back to 500, and we'll see if they can stay there. Look, the next 2 series are not going to be easy. They're just not. The Phillies you can make the argument that they're playing the best baseball in all of baseball right now. They've had an incredible start to their season. You're going to play them for a 3-game set, and then you're going to go play the Astros for a 3-game series. And the Astros had a really tough start to their season, but they've been climbing back and they've been playing great baseball. This is a really challenging road trip. It makes this series against Cincinnati that much more important, because if you lose this series against Cincinnati, you could be looking a 2 or 3 win road trip in the eye, and you win this series, and now you see where it goes from there. Can you steal one of these next 2 series? And if you do that, then you end up having a winning road trip. I think everybody would be pretty happy with them doing that, but they're 27-27. They're still a little bit back in the division. They're a game out of a playoff spot. They're playing good baseball. And somehow we're a few minutes in the program. Somehow I'm this far, and I haven't even mentioned Andre Pallante, who was fantastic. Yesterday during the extra innings show, we got into it a little bit talking about the number 5 starter. And I've been on record saying, I don't really care who the number 5 starter is, as long as he's somebody who can go at least 5 innings and keep you in the game. Well, what they got from Pallante today was a whole lot more than that. And you can't expect him to go do that every time out, but that's a really good first start for him. Now, I would say this, he's been working on a pitch. He's been working on a 2-seamer to try to neutralize right-handers. That's been one of his issues, being able to have success against right-handers. That's what he's been working with, working on in the minor leagues. So there's film on that now. So the next time he starts, there's going to be hitters that are going to be expecting that, and they're going to adjust to him, and he's going to have to adjust them. It is a constant game of adjustments. So this isn't for sure who Andre Pallante is, because he showed some kind of new stuff today that just got on film for the first time that the Reds probably were not expecting. But I'm not trying to take anything away from his day either. It was absolutely fantastic, and I'm hopeful that what the Cardinals do is just make him the 5th starter. That he's just the 5th starter until he is performing in a way that you no longer want him to be your 5th starter. And what I mean by that is you put him on the normal rest and the normal routine in between starts. None of this, well, he might be available in the bullpen this day, or he might be available in the bullpen that day. That's kind of what they did with Matthew Liberatore last year. And I didn't like it. If you're a starter, be a starter. If you're a reliever, be a reliever. There's times in the season where there is going to be somebody who's kind of a swingman between the two. But that's when Steven Matz gets injured and you think he's going to miss 2 starts. Not when Steven Matz gets injured and he's going to miss a month plus. When you're without a starter, a 5th starter for an extended amount of time, you got to have a guy who you can just put, or guys who you can just put in there and be the 5th starter. And whether that's, you just can't kind of keep going, and it's going to be Pallante until it's not. And then if it's not Pallante, you look to Graceffo, or you look to Robertson, or you whatever it might be. But just don't play this game of a guy's in the bullpen, now he's in the rotation, we're going to pull back and forth. We're not going to announce who the starter is until the day before, based off how just let him be a starter. Just let him be a starter. All right, we got a lot coming up on the program today. We always do this on days of day games because we really don't take phone calls and text messages and tweets on the post-game show after weekday day games. We try to hold that for Sports Open Line. So later on this hour, a little bit next hour as well, we will open up the phone lines, the text messages, and the Twitter, everything for you to be able to comment on what's going on with the Cardinals. We've got a couple guests coming up this hour, though. Up next, the great Jackie Joyner-Kersee is going to be with us. And then later on this hour, Battlehawks punter Sterling Hofrichter is going to be with us. What an hour. Couple athletes going to be with us. Really look forward to talking to Jackie Joyner-Kersee. She joins us next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Lombardo Homes welcomes you to Saxony Ridge in Wentzville, a sprawling new home community.
Studios powered by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. GetJim.com.
That's GetJim.com.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
I'll tell you what, this is an absolute treat right now. We are going to welcome on to the program one of the greatest athletes that has ever walked the face of the earth. And she is so incredibly involved in the St. Louis community. She has her foundation, and she's got a big event coming up this weekend. It is the great Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Jackie, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me.
You've this weekend, it's such a cool sports weekend for St. Louis coming up because NASCAR is in town. The folks over at Worldwide Technology Raceway make it such a big deal with the concerts and all the other events. And included in that is the JJK 5K run and walk. Tell folks about this and how cool of an event this is going to be.
You know what? I think it's an exciting event. This would be the second year with Worldwide Raceway and Worldwide Technology supporting us and supporting the JJK Foundation with the 5K walk and run, and it should be run and walk, that benefits the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation. Curtis Francois is very influential and instrumental in our community, pull everyone together and always thinking about ways that he could give back and making the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation one of those organizations to give back to.
The cool thing there's a lot of cool things about it, but one of the really fun things about it is this is taking place on the actual track where these races are going on. So people can be running on the track earlier in the day and then watching something coming up later on.
That is so unique in having running on I play with the words, because it's a track, but it's a track where they race cars, but it's an oval track. And so now the walkers and runners are able to run on the track, but they're actually racing cars on, which is pretty amazing and unique. When Curtis brought the idea to me, with NASCAR and being able to have the JJK 5K run walk, it's just really exciting. And this year it's starting at start time would be 6:30. The race would start off, but last year we did it was pretty hot, at 3 o'clock during the day, and that blacktop was burning, but had a lot of people very interested in doing it and supporting the cause.
Yeah, and this is going to be happening coming up tomorrow, so people can still certainly get involved with this. When on the oval part of it at the corners, that's going to be kind of fun for some of the runners to go up on the high bank.
Yes, it's almost like running indoors, because on indoors track you run on the bank, and so. But now to be able to be on the oval, because from just from looking at it, look like, oh, that don't look too bad, but then getting up on them curves and running down, it should be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of our students out there cheering the people on, and then a lot of participants coming out to also participate in doing the run and the walk.
Mentioned the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation, and you do such a great job of having the community work that you do and being able to bring athletics into the equation. How important is it for people to be able to use athletics to help themselves in so many different kinds of ways?
I think it's so important. We have a curriculum called Winning in Life, and it's a part of social emotional responsibility, but also using sports and how you can use sports for good. I never could imagine that my life would be the way that it is, but I've been able to see the world and meet people from all walks of life, but then also understanding what sports teaches you about commitment, setting goals, having it, resiliency, everything don't go according to the plan, work with you, how you can bounce back. And so being in a position to be able to share and work with people, along with saying through athletics, the gift that continues to give, is so important.
Is there anything better for you than watching maybe a kid in East St. Louis that gets involved in your program and your foundation, and watching them come out of it on the other side and just be really set up to go to college, to have a successful life, and just have all these tools kind of inside their toolbox, for lack of a better term?
Yes, that's exactly what it's all about. We do after-school programming at the JJK Center, but we also have our academy. And then being able to work with young people at the age of 5 years old, and to see them blossom, come through those doors, and to see them grow, and then allowing the teachers and allowing our staff and after school to pour into them. And when we talk about the winning in life, it's not about winning. It's giving them the tools that they might not understand when we talk about being a critical thinker right now. But later on in life, they will understand what it means to set a goal, what it means to do service, what it means to give back, understand value. So, and you want to see that manifest, later on in life. And so, again, being able to have the foundation we take a vested interest in these young people, and then see the return on that investment later on in life when they go out and be productive young people.
We're talking with Jackie Joyner-Kersee. I'm going to throw you a little bit of curveball. I hope you're okay with this. The college sports right now, we're at a place where college athletes can get paid via name, image, likeness. And there was just another court ruling here recently, and college athletes are getting more and more money. What kind of impact can that have? And is that when you've got kids that are coming out that are trying to use athletics as a way to get education, do you see it as a good thing that not only can they go get an education, but now also they might be able to get some life-changing money all at the same time?
Yes, I do see it as a good thing. I'm like, wow. I remember years back, I think they owe me some of those residuals. But anyway, if we talk about, you look at that new ruling that just come down, and how with NILs and student athletes being able to not only capitalize off of what they might do on the athletic field, but then also to be able to go on and graduate, but then also to be able to see some of the share in the profits that the university might be receiving. And hopefully this trend would be around for the next generation. And you just never know. It's just time how you talk about the changing of times. It's truly a changing of time.
We are now less than 2 months away from the next Summer Olympics coming around. Do you get jazzed up for this? Or are you still, do you watch it? Like, what's your involvement in just watching or anything else as we get closer and closer to an event that you are so closely connected to?
I get nervous for the athletes. I mentor several different one of them. I will be in Paris at the Olympics, and I'm excited because this would be because the last one, 2021, there were no fans in the stadium. So a lot of the athletes who was their first Olympics, they really don't know what the experience, what it's going to be like. But I'm sure with Paris, it's going to be, whoa, the whole world is watching again.
What does it mean to you? Because I'm sure when you are at the Olympics and when you're at major track and field events, I mean, you're Jackie Joyner-Kersee. People know who you are. What does it mean to you that to this day, a good number of years since you've last, competed, that people are still very familiar with you and come up to you? Does it feel like you still have a strong legacy, if that makes sense?
You know what? I'm so blessed, and also in being blessed, I also so grateful because people come up to me. I was talking to some heptathletes today, and girl was like, I made her whole year. And, because a lot of times they think that you're untouchable, you can't reach. And I don't put myself on a pedestal. If I can give you advice, if I can encourage someone, I'm there. But I also know that when I had my moment, I had my moment. And this moment in time is for the athletes that are competing today. So for me, I am very grateful, but I also understand that, there's going to always be someone else, but there are people that respect what I have done. And so I take it in stride and so grateful.
The JJK 5K run and walk will be taking place at Worldwide Technology Raceway tomorrow. It's your opportunity to go run or walk on the track where NASCAR is going to be competing this weekend. It's such a cool thing. Jackie, if people want to get registered, what's the best way to go about doing that?
They can go to the jjkfoundation.org, find out information, but go to Worldwide WWT, and they can register that way. And so, or you can just come show and say hello to me. I'm going to be taking pictures. I'm also going to be presenting medals. I won't be out there running. I wish I could, but I want to greet everybody as they come through the finish line and start at the starting line, come to the finish line.
Jackie, it is such a pleasure to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much for what you do, for finding some time for us, and we know this is just going to be a fantastic event tomorrow. We're really excited for you to have it for a second year in a row.
All right, and thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You bet, absolutely. That's Jackie Joyner-Kersee joining us. Yeah, this is a cool. You want to go run on a NASCAR track? That's what you can do tomorrow night. And it all benefits the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation. And she does incredible. You talk about somebody who made an impact in athletics. She's one of the greatest athletes that has ever competed. And then the impact that she has had with her foundation and the exponential impact that she's having, because she is helping people get set up for life. And then those people go out into the world and they get married and they have kids, and those kids are on the right path right away. It is just, she is such a special human being on what she's been able to do. And man, that was cool to be able to talk to her for a few minutes. I geeked out a little bit on that. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Sterling Hoffrichter. He is a punter with the Battlehawks. He joins us in just a moment. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before.
3. We'll talk some City SC coming up next hour. They've got a big matchup coming up this weekend. But let's talk a little bit about the Battlehawks coming off a tough game this past weekend where they end up losing to Arlington 36-22. Regular season finale at the Dome on Saturday against San Antonio, a team that they are going to see in the first round of the playoffs. What's not clear is where that's going to be at. So the game this weekend is going to largely determine who has home field through the playoffs. And of course, the UFL Championship game is going to be played in St. Louis. We're very happy to be able to go to the guest line right now and welcome on Battlehawks punter Sterling Hofrichter. Sterling, thanks for taking some time with us today. How are you?
Of course. Thank you. Doing well. Just getting ready for this big game this weekend and just excited to get back to the home field.
Well, in the NFL, the work week kind of begins on Wednesday. They'll play on Sunday, and then Monday's a little bit of a look back, and Tuesday's a day off, and then Wednesday's when they get things going. Do you guys have a set kind of work week like that? Does it depend if you're playing on Saturday, Sunday? What does the week look like for you guys in terms of practice and everything?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Going from a Sunday game to a Saturday game, it's more of a short week. So usually, Coach Beck's been good this year, giving us about 2 days off every week just to kind of heal our bodies up. So it really changes every week, but we've had a lot of success just being able to rest up, get guys back to being healthy, and just going through some more mental reps versus full out practices.
How important is that to have a coach who, obviously Coach Beck played for the Rams here in St. Louis in addition to other teams. I'm sure he has a very good understanding of what you and other guys really need on an every week basis. Is that an important thing to have a leader who's setting the schedule, who understands you guys?
Oh yeah, I absolutely think so. A lot of our coaches have played at the NFL level, so they kind of fully understand, how the body feels after a game and stuff like that. And it's nice to kind of have a coach that, fully understands that and just kind of trusts us to prepare the way that we need to prepare and go out there every week and just perform.
You were with the team last year. You make the decision to come back this year. Was it a no-brainer for you, or was it something that took a little while for you to decide that you did want to continue down this path?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a no-brainer. It's more, waiting for the merger, trying to see what was going to happen. But, when Coach Beck and Dave Bowler gave me the call that they wanted to bring me back, I was more than happy to say, yes, absolutely. I'll be back. We got the best fans in the league and got a good opportunity again this year to take it really far. Maybe I'm overstating things here, but because of the way things are, the rules with teams being able to go for 1, 2, or 3 points, games can turn very quickly. And it feels like keeping teams out of the end zone is even more important in the UFL than, say, in where you can just get 7. Does that make your job as a punter that much more important because you are trying to set up the defense to have the best possible opportunity to stop a team and pin them back as far as possible? Yeah, I definitely think it does. I think a lot of the other rules, like the punt rules where, the gunners can't release until the ball's punted, the touchback rule coming to 25, can't punt the ball out of bounds inside the 25. I think that plays a bigger effect, especially with the way our offense is. A lot of my punts haven't really been, backed up open field punts. They're more, trying to pin them back inside 20 and just make them have to march the whole field on our defense. So I think a lot of the rules combined make it a lot different, a lot more strategic as a punter when I'm going out there on the field.
What's more fun, when it just was not a very good offensive possession, so your job is just to go out there and boom that thing as far as possible, or one of those situations where you're closer to midfield, so you're really trying to place one?
Man, that's a really good, tough question, because I feel like, both options have a chance to be, really exciting. Backed up, if you're able to hit a really big ball and just get it out there. It's, fun to see our punt team go down and make the coverage. But also at the same time, being able to pin them back inside the 10 and see our defense go to work is fun. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably say doing a plus 50, trying to pin them back, just because I feel like you see the excitement of the defense going out on the field after that, where they know, they have a lot of field to cover. So, they're starting backed up, and it's more difficult to kind of drive the field and get any type of points out of it.
We talk with offensive and defensive players and ask how the crowd impacts them, and obviously a loud crowd can have a huge impact. As a punter, when you're punting in St. Louis, what kind of impact can the crowd have on you?
I wouldn't say it's too crazy. Realistically, I feel like a lot of the crowd noise is just white noise to a sense. So it's almost better when there's noise out there and you don't really have as much to think about. You're just like, all right, let me just catch the ball and punt it, versus, if it's really quiet, it's just like an eerie kind of feeling. So I think overall, like, a crowd noise is just fantastic.
What is the approach to a game like this, where the stakes are that you could play your first postseason game at home, but you're in the postseason, you're playing a team that you're going to play again in the first round of the playoffs. So I don't know if, offensively or defensively, you don't want to show too much. Like, isn't it kind of an odd situation here where there is something on the line, home field advantage on the line, but at the same time, you're playing a team that you're going to see again for a week later?
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know if I've ever been in this type of situation before. I mean, it's like you obviously want to go out there, win this week, get home field advantage. But like you say, you don't want to show too much, I feel like, sometimes. But I think we know, too, that at the end of the day, home field advantage for us is a huge, huge thing. The fans that we get at games make a big difference at our games. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to go out there, and no matter what it takes, we're going to put whatever we need to on film and just try to win this game, just so that we can secure the spot at home and just see our fans get rowdy for the playoff game.
You're a Syracuse guy. Have you been following along with like what Fran Brown has done from a recruiting standpoint since taking over? I mean, he is killing it up there.
Yeah, I've looked every once in a while. I actually went to our bowl game this past year, and he was kind of out on the parking lot, so I got to meet him for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this year that Syracuse is about to have. It could be a really incredible year with the recruits we've had come in, and also the coaches that we have now. Like, it's gonna be a fun time to be a Syracuse football alum. Yeah,
that's a fan base that I feel like deserves a little bit more. Like, the program's been, I wouldn't say down. I mean, there was a 6-win season. I don't know if it was this past year, 2 years ago, getting to bowl games, things like that. But at the same time, when you can think about some great Syracuse teams and 9-10 win teams and just some great players, and that hasn't existed as much here recently. For that fan base, how badly do they want to have that again there?
Oh, I mean, they're a lot like the St. Louis fans. Super passionate fans. They obviously want to see us win. I mean, the history of Syracuse is just crazy. First African-American Heisman winner, national champions. So it's, we expect to win, kind of. Obviously, it got really hard when we switched to the ACC, but I don't see a reason why we can't win.
He is Sterling Hoffrichter. He's the punter for the Battlehawks. They match up against San Antonio this Saturday. It's going to be at the Dome. It's going to be a 3:00 kickoff. A win puts the XFL Conference Championship game back at the Dome on Sunday, June 9th, again against San Antonio. A lot on the line. Hopefully fans are getting out there. If you haven't gone to a Battlehawks game yet, this is the opportunity to do so. You can buy your tickets at theufl.com. Just get to the Battlehawks team site, and you can see, if you go to their scheduled page, you can just click the buy tickets, and they're right there. Sterling, thanks so much. Have a great rest of week of practice. Safe travels back to St. Louis from Texas, and hopefully we can catch up again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. Very good. That's Sterling Hoffrichter joining us on the program. We appreciate him taking a few moments of time with us again. Big one. It's such a weird dynamic where you're going to play a team 2 weeks in a row, and the stakes are so different in the two games. You win this week, you get to host the first round playoff game at home. You lose this week, you're going on the road, but in the next one, you have to win that one to get to the UFL championship game, which again is going to be held in St. Louis no matter what. And I'm sure the Battlehawks want to get into the championship game. And let's be honest, I'm sure the league, the UFL, would very much want the Battlehawks there. I hope whether the Battlehawks are in it or not, This is going to be an incredible opportunity for St. Louis sports fans to just show out and show up big. Tickets are already available for the UFL championship game, and that's something that it's another opportunity for us to show out the kind of sports city we are. We're going to show it this weekend. NASCAR is going to be at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and this has become one of the primo events for NASCAR and the folks over there. You know, we talked to Jackie Joyner-Kersee in the last segment, what they do with the Confluence Music Festival, and you've got the trucks in addition to the Cup Series. Just a great weekend, and nobody does big sporting events better than St. Louis, and we'll have one of those when the UFL championship game is going to be played here. All right, we are going to switch gears back to the Cardinals. I told you at the top of the show, on days like today, when we do the weekday day game, we don't take the phone calls, the text messages, and the tweets during the extra inning show. We save that for this show, Sports Open Line. So if you've got any thoughts on the Cardinals, we'll open up the phone lines, the text messages, and with the tweets as well. You can get on in here at 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can also tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air. The floor is yours for the next little while as we talk Cardinals baseball right here on a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctors
14. All right, if you are on hold, we will get to you after the 7 o'clock news. We have to take a break. Maria is going to be back in here with the news in just a moment, and then we'll continue on with the program right after that here on KMOX.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7.
5 degrees. I'm Maria Kina, KMOX News.
The following is a special KMOX sports presentation. Welcome to the Strike Zone on KMOX. Presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs.
It is a Strike Zone hour here, part of a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley, continuing to give you the opportunity to chime in on the Cardinals. If you'd like to call, text, or tweet, we are here and available for you. You call in 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900, or you can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. Let's go to some of the text messages that have come in from the 618. Says, I wasn't worried about the series lost the other night with Cincinnati. I knew the Cardinals would come back. These players are on a mission. I realize the Phillies and the Astros are tough teams right now, but I have faith. We'll see. I said this before. I'll say it again. When the Cardinals lost the first game in the Cincinnati series, I really thought these last two games were the most important games that would be played on this road trip, because you don't know what's going to happen against Philadelphia. You don't know what's going to happen against Houston. Those are going to be really challenging series to find a way to win in each of them. And if they can steal one of them, if they win 2 out of 3 in one and lose 2 out of 3 in the other, that's a pretty good result. You go 3-3 over those 6 games, and then you have a winning road trip because you just took 2 out of 3. Like, this sets you up for a possibility. I think the goal here is just to make sure that you don't get swept in either of those series and then go from there. And I'm not trying to lower expectations. I'm not saying that this team can't go win a series, but you try to have 500 road trips. Anytime you're above 500, that's good. If they can go 5-4 on this trip, that'd be fantastic. If they go 4-5, it's not the end of the world because of who you're playing in these next 2 series. Got a text message. We don't talk a lot about what's going on over in Kansas City, but text message from 314 says, what's up with the Royals? I know Witt, Salvador Perez, and Lugo are having great years, but still, are they the biggest surprise this year, or the Phillies being so good? No, it's the Royals. It is for me, from a positive standpoint, it is how good the Royals have been this year. And I think we're still trying to figure out, is it, and you know what? The first place team in their division is a surprise too. Now, Cleveland's good, but did we see Cleveland playing at a 675 win percentage pace before this year started with a first year manager in Stephen Vogt? So those 2 teams are probably the most surprising, but Cleveland actually had some expectation going into the season. Externally, I don't think there were any expectations for the Royals. You go back and look at preseason predictions, I would guess that most people had the Royals preseason as the 4th place team in the AL Central. I would guess most people had the White Sox as the last place team. I think we all saw this coming, how terrible the White Sox are. But I think most people thought that Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit would all be better than Kansas City. So give credit where credit is due. They're across the state. Royals are playing good baseball. We'll see whether or not it is sustainable. We're basically at the 1/3 point of the season right now. One of the things I absolutely love about baseball is the 162 game nature of baseball. And you have to build your teams to be able to win games in the short term and in the long term, if that makes any sense whatsoever. There are a lot of teams that get out to fast starts, and then you get past the All-Star break, and you get past you come up on the trade deadline, and teams are just kind of starting to they fall off. It's hard. Baseball's hard. There's a reason that the cliche is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It is hard to go out and win over basically a 6-month period. Text message from 314 says, how about putting Mason Wynn and Michael Ciani back-to-back in the lineup? I should preface this by saying I'm not a big lineup guy. There's obviously some things you want to do in a lineup, but I think we get a little bit bent out of shape sometimes over the way the lineup is constructed, and barring you just kind of doing something that's boneheaded in building a lineup, Um, I don't think it make that much of a difference. Now, they were next to each other today, going 8-9. Is that what you're making note of? I mean, they've been when I mean that's happened a lot, but I think the way I read the question was like putting those two guys at the top of the order together, like Wynn leadoff and Siani in the 2 spot, because they'll bat 8-9. And really, here's why I think we make way too much of a lineup, because what's the actual difference between a couple guys hitting 1-2 and a couple guys hitting 8-9? Once you get through the lineup the one time, you can look at those bottom of the order guys. It's like when Tony La Russa used to bat the pitcher 8th. The idea behind that was really the leadoff hitter was being put in the 9 spot, but he wanted Pujols as the cleanup hitter, but he also wanted to make sure the Pujols always batted in the first inning. So essentially the way that was built was you were just not going to have your leadoff hitter hit in the first inning. And then once the lineup turned over, essentially the 9 hitter was the 1 hitter, and you went from there. So does it really make a difference if Wynn and Siani are going 8-9? I don't like Siani as the 2 hitter because what does he bring you, right? Like he can put a bunt down. The way I said that, it sounded like I was being dismissive of him. I think he's done actually a very, very nice job. Especially when you compare him to what Victor Scott was doing. One of the turning points for this team, I think, was essentially handing the center field job over to Michael Siani, because at that point, you were no longer having someone who just was having uncompetitive at-bats. And Siani, if he gets on base, he can steal a bag. He's going to make good decision on the bases. The other day, I thought it was a nice when Oliver Marmol saw the opportunity to put him at third when he pinch ran for Donovan because he was going to come in anyways later and play in the outfield. I'm not trying to be completely dismissive of what Michael Siani brings you, but at the same time, we're talking about a guy who's hitting 212 this year, and I know the first thing you're going to say is, well, a lot of that was what he did in April. Look at what he's done in May. And his overall numbers, they're fine in the month of May. He's hitting 267, 623 OPS is okay. But I mean, he's only got what 2 hits in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 games. It feels like he's coming back to earth a little bit offensively. I like Michael Siani, does a nice job in center field, but I don't think you're sitting there and putting him in a certain spot in the lineup to try to get it going. And by the way, you don't need to, because the team's scoring a ton of runs right now. Team's scoring a ton of runs. Their offense has gotten going. I'm still concerned, by the way, of hitting with runners in scoring position. That's been lost a little bit here. And if like today, they won, right? So we don't need to talk about what they did with runners in scoring position. Well, if we do talk about it, they went 1 for 9. That happens a lot lately. They had 12 hits today and they had home runs. They've got this home run streak thing going right now. You're getting your donuts from Schnucks every day. And when you hit home runs, the situational hitting stuff doesn't matter as much because you're scoring runs in those moments. They are not a very good team hitting with runners in scoring position. That deficiency is being masked right now by the fact that they're hitting home runs and they're getting a well-placed hit here and there. But yeah, 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position today. The numbers overall from a situational standpoint have not gone that much better, even with what the team has done from a winning standpoint. It's just when you're winning games, it doesn't matter, right? When you're winning games, you're not looking at the box score saying, well, what could have they done better to win by more runs? That's not what you're saying. When you're losing games, you're looking at the box score and you're saying, what could have they done better to win this game? Obviously, clearly. So when they're deficient with runners in scoring position, then you're going to look at that number. When they're winning games, you don't look at that number quite as much. We will take a break, and when we return, we are going to spend a little bit of time talking City SC soccer. We're going to hear from Bradley Carnell leading into their matchup this weekend. That's up next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. It's a Strike Zone Hour here on KMOX.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays
Close to home, from schools to your pocketbook. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It's Grey Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Happy for another 40 minutes or so. Brad Young's in tonight with At Your Service. That's going to be from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I had to laugh on a text. We'll get to the Bradley Carnell audio that I teased in just a moment or so. I'm not going to not do that, but I had to get to this because one of the common things that I hear from listeners, like a lot, so much so that it gets frustrating, is that I'm a homer, that I carry water for the Cardinals, that I'm told what to say by the organization, that I can't actually believe these things, that I can't be critical, like all these things. And sometimes it actually bugs me. I'll be like, if there's one area that I need to grow in as a sports talk host, it's probably the text line not bothering me as much as it does when the attacks are a little bit personal. I'm not great at that. It bugs me a little bit. So I had to laugh when I got this one because, again, every day, every night, if the Cardinals lose a game and I say something that they did well, I am just inundated with people calling me the guy carrying water and the homer and all those sort of things. So Cardinals win today. What do? I mentioned a couple things. I mentioned that they don't hit well with runners in scoring position today. Mentioned that Michael Ciani's numbers are falling back. I am assessing and evaluating the team from, I think, a very fair standpoint. And I get this text message from the 618. You're always dismissive and critical to the point of psychoanalysis, which drives people crazy after an uplifting game. Who are you? The Cardinals speak for themselves. Kyle Sixt is in here today. So that, you know what? I actually appreciate that text because so often I am being told how all I do is lift up. Here's somebody getting on me about the opposite of that.
It's really funny to me when you get people saying that you're carrying water for the Cardinals or you're dismissive, because I work with you and you're a very even-keeled guy to me, Matt. It's like you always find the things that they can improve upon when they win, and you find things that to be critical of when they lose. And or you find something that's not contrary to what they did, and you always keep it realistic. And so when people say you're never going to win with everyone, I guess is what I'm trying to say here, because as a radio talk show host, you have to be sort of in the middle, I think, because there's always going to be good things and there's always going to be bad. Well,
I appreciate the text. That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate the text from the 618 calling me out for being too negative about the Cardinals, because I don't get that ever. So there you go. Everybody takes things in a very different kind of way. All right, we'll jump back into Cardinals baseball later on this hour, but do want to switch to City SC. They're struggling right now. If we're they lose to Seattle 2-1. They were down 2-9, and it happened fast. I was watching the match, and then it went to halftime, and I flipped over to the Cardinals, and I was trying to do the thing where I go back and forth. And by the time I got back to City, they were down 2-0. I mean, it just boom, boom. It just happened like that. And they're having a hard time finding wins right now. Earlier in the season, it was a lot of ties. Now it's a lot of losses, and they're going to match up against Inter Miami. So they'll take on Messi coming up this weekend. Our own Jen Cease got the opportunity to talk with sporting director Lutz Pfannenstiel a little bit about the challenges of playing Inter Miami.
St. Louis City heading to Miami, the possibility of playing somebody on the level of Lionel Messi. Lutz, you've seen many greats run through the game. What is that like for you?
For me personally, I don't really care who we play against. It's just another game. But of course, playing against Messi, Busquets, Suarez, it's a big thing for the players. I think it's that moment where you can prove yourself against the biggest player probably in the last 50, 60 years or maybe ever, like Lionel Messi. For me, it's important that they don't get starstruck. For me, it's important they don't idolize the guy they play against. So if you play against Messi, you want to compete and you want to beat him. If we are scared to play against Messi, we have no chance. So in the end of the day, we need to be out there. We need to be cheeky. We need to be confident and try our best. Nobody thinks we can beat them anyway. And, it was last year the same feeling. We always were the underdog. We are pretty much the big underdog this time. And the only thing is what we can do is shock Miami, because if they beat us, nobody will be shocked. So it's up to us to make it life as difficult as possible for them. And of course, it's an honor to play against Messi, but don't be scared. He's just another human being.
Who did you play back in the day where you were maybe a little starstruck by?
I mean, when I played with the Vancouver Whitecaps, I played against David Beckham, when he came over here. But I played against him before in England, which he was, of course, a superstar. Over here, he was more like an idol. It was similar. I mean, if you're scared of him, then he will lead you a life. So that's always, I think, the big secret. Play against big players. Respect is one thing, but don't be frightened.
That's Jen C's talking with Lutz Pfannenstiel. We appreciate that from her. So Bradley Carnell yesterday also spent some time talking about going up against a player like Messi.
As a player, I always looked at it, when I step over the white line, there's no names on shirts. And I think that's stood true to me and good for me throughout my career. So that's been part of the messaging. I know he shows up when you least expect it, and I know he shows up when you haven't seen him for 15 minutes. He makes big plays. The thing is, can we mitigate those plays and the players around him? We expect nothing less than their best, which is a good challenge for us. And we feel that there are games where, we can see areas to exploit them. We'll have our moments for sure. We just have to embrace them and take them.
As we move into the transfer window, it certainly sounds like City is going to be rather active. And the first thing that they did that they've officially announced, and we've talked about it on this show, German midfielder Cedric Tuhart was signed through a 2-year deal. Now, he is going to be available for selection beginning on July 18th. That's the start of the MLS summer transfer window. As soon as he gets his work visa or whatever you need to be able to come over, he's going to be eligible to practice with the team, but it's not going to be until July that he's actually going to be able to play in games. But he is a big piece that can be added to this team. And Bradley Carnell did say that Tuhart definitely can play in a number of different ways that will help this team.
He could play slightly deeper. He could play slightly higher in the Nico Gioacchini role, right? The second striker role. So we've got different options where we think we can plug him in. But what it does do is it ups competition. And I'm really all for competition. When we get high caliber, high level player who we feel can fit in our system, it just keeps, everyone honest, I would say.
Carnell would go on to say that there's still work that Tuhart's got to do to get better and also just to be able to assimilate with this team.
He's visited twice already, so we've seen him. Now he needs to first get the papers sorted out. He needs to unwind, go on a summer vacation for a couple of weeks, and the window only opens up mid-July. We'll try and get him up and ready to a certain point, and hopefully he comes in ready that we don't have to spend too much time in getting him up to speed.
Couple other notes from this team. Nice honor for Kyle Hiebert. He's been selected for the 26-man Canadian men's national team roster. This is going to be his second career call-up to Team Canada, and he is going to head to that camp following the matchup against Inter Miami this weekend. And Carnell commented on Hiebert making it onto that Canadian national team.
This is great for the club, great success story for Kyle, and it just shows what a set of principles can do for an individual that has always been overlooked his whole career. We embrace Kyle for the person, the character he is, plus the playing attributes he brings to the table every day. So, I'm really happy, and obviously it's no secret, Jesse, with his style of play and the principles we play by, very similar. I knew a couple of days ago, and I was itching to tell everyone, but now it's out in the open, so it's really, really awesome news.
And then the last thing, just what we opened up with. This is a City team that has been struggling recently to score goals and to find wins. And Carnell talked about how that impacts the team's confidence.
When you go 2 goals down, there's nothing more to lose. The game starts at zeros. So let's start the game how we ended it. When you go on a stretch like we have of 3 on the bounce now, that, yeah, for sure, confidence takes a hit. The touch isn't always as clean. But if you have trust that your teammates are around you, if you might make the mistake, then it's okay because we have a set of principles that get you out of jail free card. And if we all bring that together and we all stay connected and we all have trust and belief in each other, then those moments are fine.
By the way, a guest announcement for tomorrow. The great Taylor Twellman is going to be on the program tomorrow here on Sports Open Line, so be tuned in for that. City SC in action coming up this weekend as they are going to match up against Inter Miami. We'll see how they do, and you can hear it over on our sister station, Y98. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some NBA playoffs as the conference finals in the East, they're done. The Western Conference Finals look just about done, not there yet. What can we expect out of the potential NBA Finals matchup? We'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. It's Graybar Sports Open Line here on KMOX.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but
$419.
Dive into all things Cardinals on Cardinals Conversations, your go-to location for exclusive content from KMOX. Catch it on the Odyssey app or your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with your team. Cardinals Conversations, where the Redbird talk never stops.
It's Graybar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. This is a great time of the year. NBA, NHL playoffs going on. Of course, baseball going on as well. The NBA playoffs, one half of the NBA finals set with the Boston Celtics. The other half will be either the Mavericks or Timberwolves, probably Dallas. They're up in Series 3-1. To talk through these playoffs, we're very happy to welcome on Mitch Lawrence. You follow him on Twitter at Mitch_Lawrence, part of the team with SiriusXM NBA Radio, Mad Dog Radio, has worked as a columnist all over the place. Mitch, appreciate you taking some time with us today. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Matt. How are you tonight? All right?
I am good. Now, are you based in Texas? Is that right?
Yes, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, back where I started. I covered the Mavericks a long time ago in the mid to late 80s. Started there covering the Mavericks. And when they went to their first Western Conference Finals in 88, went up and did the Daily News for about 21 years, writing a column up there, NBA columnist. And now I'm back down here doing a lot of serious NBA radio. So I'm happy to be still reporting on the league and talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the excitement level there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for this Mavericks team that is one win away from getting into the NBA Finals?
Well, anytime a team kind of comes from nowhere, going into the season, how many people were picking Dallas to go to a conference finals or a finals? Not many based off last year. It didn't look like the Kyrie thing was going to work with Luka Doncic. Didn't look like the Mavericks would play enough defense. And lo and behold, everybody has to be excited because of the way Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd have remolded this team with a couple of big pickups. They got the lively kid out of Duke at the draft. They got Gafford, PJ Washington at the trade deadline. They've become bigger, a better defensive team. And the biggest thing is that Kyrie, who had really some bad moments in Brooklyn, had an awful stint there with what he considered his hometown team, being a Jersey guy, and coming off of, before that, it was a disaster in Boston. It didn't work out there for him. And now he's been playing great. He's totally focused on the team. There's no outside distractions that he's getting caught up in. And so all of a sudden, Dallas fans are excited because they've got what looks like the makings of a championship team. But, at the start of the year, nobody was thinking that the Mavericks were going to be this good.
Kyrie was very much known for some of the off the court stuff compared to some really bad things that were said and done. And you allude to, it's not only is he just focused on basketball, my gosh, is he a fantastic, the level of play we're seeing from him right now. He is an absolute superstar. Is there a correlation between the two, that the off the court stuff went away and he was able to turn that energy or whatever it might be into turning himself into clearly a top 10, maybe even better than that player in the league?
Well, he's always had that talent. I mean, you go back to 2016 when he was with LeBron in Cleveland. They came back from 3-1 down in the finals, which he'd never done. He made the big shot in Game 7 on the road, established himself as one of the great clutch performers of his era. I think the big thing that stands out to me about this playoff run is you go back to the first round, the Mavericks were down in Los Angeles as all hell's breaking loose on all the campuses around the country, including UCLA. And that would have been the perfect time for Kyrie if he didn't like what was going on with him, with the team, whatever. He would have headed over to the Westwood campus at UCLA. And, there was all those protests there, and that's kind of right up his alley. He's talked for years about, for him, there's more to life than just putting a ball through a rim. But no, he never left the he never went off on the reservation, as they said. He's always been committed. He's played great. The team has thrived. He's loved his role. He's loved playing this year with Luka Doncic. That has worked great. So to me, that was the big turning point, is that he didn't kind of just let the outside world affect his play. I mean, listen, I got nothing against guys who are interested in what's going on in the real world, the outside world off the basketball court, but there's a time and place for everything. And in Brooklyn, it didn't work. With the COVID stuff, he had problems with that. He had problems with what was going on in New York City. Boston, he had other problems involving, this is the litany of stuff, the laundry list but he's turned it all around. So the Mavericks are very lucky. They're getting the best of Kyrie Irving in this situation. It looks like it's going to last at least through this season. Next year, who knows what's going to happen, right? You never know.
You mentioned Jason Kidd, and I was living in Milwaukee when he was the Bucks coach, and I didn't think much of him as a coach, and I thought the Bucks got better when they moved on from him. So when he went to Dallas, I kind of thought, okay, this is going to be this team taking a step back, and I was wrong on that. How much has he changed as a coach as he's gotten older and more established?
Well, I think experience, the experiences you have as a coach, the ups and especially the downs, teach you to be, if you're good, and you're into it and you work at it, I think all the failures help you in the long run, help you grow as a person, help you grow as a coach. I don't think there's any question. He had his struggles. He had his struggles in Brooklyn before he went to Milwaukee as a new coach, a first-time coach, as a guy who was an all-time legendary player, a top 75 performer in the history of the league. And, he struggled. And he struggled in Milwaukee. He struggled. I remember there were all those, nightmare stories about his dealings with people in the front office. I think here he's really found himself. He's thrived under Mark Cuban. I think the biggest thing, though, from the standpoint is that over the last few years, he had a GM, a guy who'd never done the job before, Nico Harrison, who was a big executive at Nike. He knew all the top players, starting with, work with guys like Kobe Bryant and others. But Nico Harrison, they hired to be the GM. And this year, it's the small moves. Now last year they got Kyrie and it didn't work out, but in addition to Kyrie kind of turning things around himself and vis-a-vis Luka, the whole relationship, I mentioned it before, it's worth, repeating. The smaller moves that he made with the roster, Nico, and I'm sure Jason probably had a lot of input because Jason knows the game. There's no question that Jason Kidd is brilliant when it comes, knows what's winning. He won here in 2011. He's been a winner, all over the place, but especially in 2011. I was in New Jersey. I was at the Daily News in New York, rather, when he led a net team that really didn't have any other great performers on it to back-to-back finals, losing to the Lakers, losing to the Spurs. But we know what kind of player Jason Kidd is, and he's taken that knowledge. This year, with the changes that the Maverick roster has had, he knows it's important to win defense. In the last few years when he's coached, the Mavericks were an awful defensive team. He knew that Jason Kidd knew that wasn't going to work. He was careful about criticizing, though. But what the front office, Nico Harrison did, Mark Cuban, and guys like that, got him the type of defensive players with length, athleticism, height, guys who can, the Gaffords, the Liveleys who can help do the type of defense that Jason wants. So, you know what? It's been a combination of a lot of things, but I'm sure Jason Kidd knows enough about basketball to tell you that the transformation involves the roster as much as his growth as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking right now with Mitch Lawrence. On the other side of things, the Celtics have already advanced. They'll be in the championship against either of the Mavericks, probably the Mavericks and Timberwolves. This Celtics team is the overwhelming favorite to win it all. They're going to have a long layoff. I guess that's one thing that goes against them, but this is a really, really good Celtics team.
Well, it's really good, and they're still learning how to win. Now, they've added some real key pieces in Drew Holiday, who won a championship, as everybody knows, in Milwaukee. He's a tremendous defensive player. Gave up, Marcus Smart. They finished with Marcus Smart. They so fast they had to move on. Then they brought in Kristaps Porzingis, who, of course, his playoffs is done. He hasn't been around. He's been injured. And so I think that's a huge thing for him, as we talk about rest on everything. As long as Porzingis can come back healthy and stay on the court, which is always big with him. It's never a sure thing. That's going to obviously help. But it comes down to the play of Tatum and Brown.
Yeah.
You guys up in St. Louis, Jason Tatum. He's a local guy. He's had some great playoffs. He's had some down moments. A couple of years ago, he and Jaylen Brown were about 5 minutes from taking a 3-1 series lead against Golden State, and everything blew up in their face. And they lost that series, and that was a major setback for a couple of guys who really, a lot of pressure is on. The expectations are high on Jaylen and Jason to deliver. In Boston, it's really not a successful season unless you win a title. The fans up there are spoiled. They're very demanding. In a lot of people's minds, these guys have underachieved. To get back to a finals is huge for them, but they're going to have to deliver. And if they don't deliver, I fear that Joe Mazzulla, it's probably going to cost him his job. I know that he's got great support in Brad Stevens, his GM, but to get to a conference, to get to a finals isn't just good enough for these guys anymore. They've got to win. And it's going to be tough, whoever they play coming out of the West, because those teams have played a much tougher schedule in the playoffs. I mean, you know, part of me says, I look at Boston and I go, they should go 12-0 against the East. They shouldn't have had 2 losses. Played a depleted Miami team, lost the game. That's unacceptable. Played a depleted, Cleveland team, lost a game. That, they finally, they swept an Indiana team, which was a good team. Don't get me wrong, but they're not even, they're far away from being what you consider a great team. So, the jury's still out on these Celtics. What will Brown and Tatum do at the end of these tight playoff and finals games, especially now they're on to the next round? That's been their Achilles. A lot of times their offense goes south on them. They're not they don't play smart basketball. And I'm talking about their 2 best players. So they've got to turn it around these next finals. There's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot at stake riding on what happens in the finals. Los
St. Louisans are in for the Celtics because of the Jason Tatum factor. He continues to be very active in the St. Louis area for sure. We're talking with Mitch Lawrence, part of the team at SiriusXM NBA Radio, on Twitter at Mitch_Lawrence. Mitch, thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy the finals, and hopefully we can catch up again down the line.
Anytime you want me, Matt, just give me a holler. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Awesome. Very good. That's Mitch Lawrence joining us here on the program. We appreciate him taking a couple moments with us. Building the Future, sponsored by Graybar, your distributor for electrical and data communication needs. Yesterday, the Memphis Redbirds were in action, and Zach Thompson was on the mound, and he put together a pretty solid performance. 5 no-hit innings yesterday for Thompson. He did have 5 walks, so there's been a lot of talk about Cardinals starting pitching, especially with what Andre Palante was able to do today. For Thompson, his ERA at Memphis is now down to 1.82. If you have an issue, though, it is still those walks. He has 20 walks that he's issued over 24 2/3 innings, and he had the 5-walk day yesterday. He had a 7-walk performance earlier this year against when he was playing on May 9th. So still trying to get things going, but it does seem like things are starting to move in the right direction for Zach Thompson. One more break. We'll come back and we'll wrap up this edition of a Graybar Sports Open Line and get you set for At Your Service with Brad Young. He is in the house. We'll find out what's going on with him when we continue after this right here on KMOX.
Nobody wants a surprise in their jelly donut. It's toothpaste?
on Deck, sponsored by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign, you have the very best. Cardinals off tomorrow, and they open up a series in Philadelphia on Friday. Pitching matchups, it's not going to be easy for the Cardinals. They'll go Miles Michaelis, Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, but the Phillies will go with Aaron Nola on Friday, Ranger Suarez on Saturday, and then Sunday night. It's the second straight week they've got the Sunday nighter. Taijuan Walker will pitch the finale for the Phillies. Brad Young's got at your service tonight from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. He has been gracious enough to join us for a few minutes in front of his program. Hello, Brad.
Matt, good evening, sir.
I'm going to Philadelphia this weekend.
You are?
I am. I have never been to the city of Philadelphia in my life.
Oh, I've been several times. It's a fun city, and you got to get the steak sandwich. The traditional steak sandwich, the Philly's cheesesteak.
Yeah, so I'm getting in like first thing Friday morning. I'll be in the ballpark that afternoon. So I don't think I'll have a lot of time to do much on Friday, but Saturday, if I wake up kind of early, I'm thinking maybe I can get out a little bit and take in some of the scenes of Philadelphia.
Well, when you get the cheesesteak, you got to get it with the cheese whiz.
Yes,
you got to do that. Otherwise, you're a rookie.
I love a good Philly cheesesteak.
Oh,
There's very few items of food that taste better than a good Philly cheesesteak.
Well, I know we don't have a lot of time here, but I just wanted to ask you if there was any truth to the rumor that I heard today that Angel Hernandez quit in order to work for the National Association for the Blind. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think so, but I can't say for sure.
Okay, because you can't believe all the rumors you hear.
It's amazing. He's done. I haven't talked about this much. He's just done. He is just done. He is one of the most tough people to cover because he is one of the most terrible umpires you're ever going to see, but he's one of the nicest people.
Well,
it's a really weird thing.
But what's baffling to me is that he's so universally disliked.
Yeah.
I mean, you think if he's bad for one team, he's good for another, but everybody disliked him.
No, everybody disliked. There was a Bryce Harper meltdown on Sunday Night Baseball a couple years ago where he's pointing at both dugs out. You're screwing this team. You're screwing that. Like, it was crazy. So it was good. In like 10 seconds, what do you have on the program tonight?
I'm going to break down what the jury's talking about right now in the Trump case. And also the city earnings tax.
Are you surprised the verdict didn't come back today?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's Brad Young. He's up next. It's at your service. I'll be back with you tomorrow for a Graybar Sports Open Line 6 to 8 here on KMOX.
Talk about MVPs and award-winning talent. Chesterfield Fence and